lot going on today. We are planting corn, we are mock tilling, and behind us here we're taking down this old barn that is on the farm we're working. This piece of property is in Johnson County, and it's got some lower river bottom land, and it's kind of an interesting piece. We bought it 2 years ago, but this barn behind me is a really interesting piece of history. We've brought in some barn experts to analyze and look it over and give us an idea of when they think it was built. And it appears from everything we've gathered that it's 1850s vintage. And you know, some interesting things about it and some reasons why they think it was built around that time is because it predates the use of saws. So a lot of the structural beams that you see when you go in, it's two level. When you go on the underside, you can see the structural beams, and you can see that they're really hand-hewn wood. They've left the bark on some of the trees that they brought in. It's rare that a barn this old is still standing. Gus Gus is its nickname. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old, and they decided that that's what the barn should be called, so we call it Gus Gus. You know, even the limestone around it is really nice. And so it was our desire to save the barn. What we've been doing for the last month or so is taking it down kind of piece by piece. You can see the crane in the background now getting the big structural pieces and laying them down. So once everything's down, we're going to do some dirt work and make a new foundation, and it will not have a basement when we rebuild it just because of the costly expense to do both. But we're going to rebuild the upper structure, reuse all this wood. So if you look at this piece here laying on the ground that came out of the barn, it was up in the center of the barn, and the barn experts that have been here looking at it, as well as we've got an Amish crew here helping take it down, they all believe that this was a tobacco drying rack. So kind of unique and not something that you see very often, especially not here in Iowa. Kept kind of the roofing structure with it, so it's all intact together. But that was hanging up in the center of the barn, which was interesting. And if you come down here now by the barn itself, you know, I mentioned earlier this limestone structure, and what makes this unique is the quarry that we have on the farm was called the Eicher Quarry. And so all of this rock came out of that quarry when they built this barn. And we're also told that the Coralville Dam, which is not too far from here, rock out of the quarry here was used to build that, as well as Prairie du Chien Road that connects and goes over the dam here in Johnson County. So that's kind of also an interesting piece of history with this farm. But we can walk a little closer here. You can see here animal stall, and over on this side there's some animal fencing and pens. You can see the feeder troughs there that was kind of right along this wall. We'll spend the summer then with the rebuild process, and we'll put the original wood back in. We'll put new wood, barn wood siding on it, and really try to preserve, you know, as much as we can, since it is a great piece of history.
Well, this old farm was rustic, neglected for years and years, and we decided to save the barn because it's probably close to 150 years old, and every nail in it is square. So it's a peg barn with square nails, and it had a good roof on it, a new roof sometime back, probably in the 40s, and so it preserved the wood, and other than being crooked from starting to fall down, we decided to save it, and they're taken apart in pieces so that we can have the thing rebuilt on a straight foundation and preserve the rustic interior of it for the long run.
The farmland was not well taken care of. A lot of water standing, it didn't drain well. And so we went through and tiled it, and the first year we farmed it, before we tiled it, we were averaging about 130 bushel corn. And then once we got it tiled and got the nutrients back in the soil that it needed, second year we were averaging around 190 bushels per acre. So pretty big swing there just by doing some improvements to it.
What are we doing today?
Well, I was taking a nap and then I got interrupted, so now I'm having to plant some corn. Planting with an 8370 and a 12-row planter, mainly because of the size of the fields and the hills here. It's just a better planter to use on this old rough farm. This is the tail end of what Susie and I plant. Jonathan's got several hundred acres yet to go, and I'll probably end up helping him, but we should get done here today or tomorrow. Well, I've been running 5.8 to 6 mile an hour, and it's the most consistent that I've seen all year. The chart shows 34,000 population, and I don't see it varying off of that at all. It must be a very good, consistent size of seed, and this meter does an excellent job on it anyway, and so it seems to be doing a good job.
That being said, is that the most accurate you've ever seen a planter plant?
Probably as accurate as I've ever seen, yes.
How many years have you been planting?
How many years have I been planting? Probably off and on for over 50 years, but there were some years I planted more than others, and a couple of years I probably missed because I was too busy with the manufacturing.
So I think it's pretty exciting to own a company where we believe we've got the best corn planter in the industry. We've worked really hard to make sure we've got the right frame, the right row unit, the right meter, and of course now the right electronics. And so I think you couple all those things together with the technology that we've created, the mechanical frame solution, how it operates and folds, and we believe we've got the best corn planter in the industry, and I believe a lot of farmers agree with us on that, especially ones that own Kinseys, and as we have new farmers buy a Kinsey for the first time, they tell us, wow, we had no idea Kinsey had technology like this, that it was this easy to use, and we are really glad that we switched brands. So it's pretty exciting as owners when you hear that over and over from farmers that switch brands, or farmers that upgrade a planter, and maybe they've had a 10-year-old planter and they see the progress we've made over the years with technology and some of the features that we've created.
Well, you get to be my age, I forget from one year to the next how to run a lot of that electronic equipment, and this helps to have it simple, so you just get in and it kind of leads you through it. You don't have to have a lot of memory to operate it. It basically has memory for you to make it work.
You give my dad something mechanical with pliers and a few tools, and he, like any other farmer, can easily fix it, but the electronics are frustrating when they're either too complicated or they're not working as they should. So we set out to make this very simple, and you know, it's always interesting every spring to watch my dad get in the cab. I was riding with him yesterday as he was getting started up on this farm. He and I have been tag teaming back and forth planting, and just watching him, you know, go and find the plant screen, the fold screen, and go through the sequence of folding and unfolding the planter, which we also made that very step-by-step user-friendly, where you press the button on the screen and then you pull on the hydraulic valve on the tractor. So very simple to use, easy to operate. What I like about it too is at a glance you can see everything. You see a lot of green, you know, things are working really well as they should.
Well, if you're going to be in with one main product, the planter, you better be the best at it, or you'll not stay on top. We seem to be able to maintain that position